Okay, so hello. Thank you so much for choosing to learn Ink with me. I am Tom, and I'm going to be guiding you through a hour-long session on where you're going to write your own story and hopefully show it off to the rest of the group. So here's the plan. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes just guiding you through what we're going to be doing, what Ink is, a quick introduction to just how you can sort of get stuck in. Then we're going to have 40 minutes writing time, and then with any luck, 15 minutes of show and tell at the end of the session. If you could download the link that I've put here or in the chat, that would be great. It should be done by the time I've finished talking. So first off, what is Ink? A quick primer on writing interactive stories. So interactive stories, the simplest sort, are what we call flowchart sorts of stories. And you might be familiar with these from games like The Walking Dead, where you are confronted with a situation where do you kill the zombie, yes or no? If you do, the story goes down one particular route, and if you don't, it goes down another route. And you can keep branching the story like this, and then you can have a sort of multiverse thing where you've got thousands of potential routes that your story could go in. There's plenty of tools out there already that are really great for writing this kind of story. You've got Twine there on the left, other tools like Inform. And this is very common as an approach for writing interactive stories, even in sort of big AAA games. And it's great because we can actually visualize where the story is going to go using a sort of flowchart. You're probably familiar with Bandersnatch, which is probably the most popular example from recent times of how you can use this structure. You can already see how ridiculously complex that flowchart is starting to look. I mean, that's huge, and you have to really zoom in to see what's going on, and it gets really hard to sort of keep track of everything that's going on there. It's quite hard to read it, to parse it. And if you played Bandersnatch, especially if you've replayed it, you might have noticed that it's actually not that branching. It's quite a complex story, but if you replay it once or twice, you'll see the same content over and over again. And it only sort of branches down a few, like 2 or 3 sort of major routes, and then there's just lots of little offshoots. So if you imagine that you wanted to make Bandersnatch, but far more complex, let's say if you were making a big narrative style game, then this approach starts getting really unmanageable. You end up with this huge flowchart, boxes flying everywhere, and it just starts getting a bit nutty. On top of that, let's say that you wanted to make a game like Hades, where the characters, when you talk to them, they don't just respond to the last thing you did, they respond to everything that you've done in the whole game. Did you just fight this particular character? Have you beaten this other character? Have you just collected an item? Have you talked to this guy recently? There's so many different things that the game is keeping track of all the time. And so when you talk to somebody and they just kind of offhandedly mention something that you did recently, ages ago, something you've seen, it feels like magic. And this is the same approach that we took on our own game, Heaven's Vault, which is the game in the top left there, which you can play in literally any order you want, and it will respond to you in a way that feels right and magical. Like it won't feel strange when you go down, like if you could visit what could have been the last location for somebody else first, the game will still cope. And you just can't do this in a flowchart. You'd have to build the most crazy flowchart in the world where you'd have to turn the whole thing upside down. So that's where Ink comes in. So Ink has all sorts of tools that make it really easy to write incredibly powerful and flexible interactive stories. So it's designed to be as simple as possible while enabling massively complex branching. It remembers every choice that you ever take automatically. You don't need to do anything, it just knows what you've done. It doesn't slow down when your stories get huge. It's been tested across basically all platforms. You can get it into a Unity game, there's an HTML export, there are games on PS5 that use Ink. You can swap out bits of text depending on what the player has seen done dynamically. It supports custom variables and logic. And it's perfectly suited for writing a Bandersnatch-style branching story, but it gives you the freedom to do so much more. So here's a few games that have been made using Ink. You've got Sea of Thieves, Tad's Dating Simulator, Banner Saga, all sorts of games. So what's in the kit? Let me just check the chat and make sure that everybody's got the kit set up. Has anybody got any problems? Okay, somebody's having an error, that's no good. The developer cannot be verified. Let me send another link to Inky, because we will need that. Okay. I'm just going to whack a new link in the chat there. So that is the latest release of Inky. I'm not sure if it's verified on Mac. I'm sorry about that. You will be able to run it, but I believe you have to go into the settings. If you're having problems with that, please mention it on the chat and I'll see if I can find a solution for you. For now, I'm just going to plow ahead. Hopefully you've all got it open, downloaded and open anyway. Okay, great. Glad to see that some of you got that set up. So in the kit, you should have Inky, which is the software that we've developed to allow you to play and write ink stories at the same time. So it's a sort of what you see is what you get visual editor. We've got 4 quick playable demos that you can quickly buzz through and use for inspiration or to nick bits of code from. There are 17 interactive lessons detailing each of the features in Ink, and a cheat sheet that shows you just a full list of here's all the stuff you can do and here's the magic letters that you need to type to make them work. So this is Inky. This is what it looks like when you boot it up. You'll see it's a window with some text you can write on the left and then your playable story on the right there. And you should be able to click any choices that you've written on the left, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And you should be able to play them on the right there, so you can click whichever one you want. I'll get us set up in Inky in a second. I'm just going to walk you through what's in the kit first. We've got our demos. The last 2 are very advanced. The first 2 are a bit simpler. The last one in particular is basically a full game that you could spend 10 minutes happily playing through. And we've got our 17 playable tutorials. And then this is the cheat sheet. You'll be able to expand that if you find it in your kit. Okay, so let's have a look at a demo together. So I'm going to, I'm sharing my screen on this, that's fine. I'm just going to boot Inky up. There is no Linux version, I'm sorry about that. I think it does run under Wine. But there isn't an official Linux port, I'm afraid. Okay. So hopefully you've all got that set up now. So you can see that if we open up Inky, we can open projects here on the left. I'm going to leave you to point you towards the demos that you need. I'm going to open, we've got a script here that we can play. When you pop it open, you should see, when it loads, something a bit like this. I believe you're looking at a different demo to me, but that's fine. I'm just going to check, yes, you can still see that. That's great. Okay, so here we are. The story itself is written on the left. I hope this doesn't look too confusing. Ink is all written as pure plain text. So it's a little bit like a scripting language or a programming language, but I promise it's nowhere near as confusing, and you really don't need to be a programmer to master Ink. Most of our users are just writers with no real programming experience at all. It just uses a little bit of syntax to describe choices or branches, and that kind of thing. So you see this little asterisk here, this means a choice. So the story starts at the top. I looked at Monsieur Fogg, and you can see here on the right, which is the playable part of the story, right here. And we've got some restart buttons, undo button here at the top, and then a restart next to it. So we can see that the asterisk here denotes choice. So, and I could contain myself no longer appears as a choice here, and we can click that. And then anything underneath that choice is then shown as the next piece of content. And then a wager is one of the next choices we can make. And you can see that that's written here with 2 asterisks, which means that it's the second choice deep in the story. So I'm going to move on there, because otherwise I'm going to start explaining all of the different features of Ink. It's probably easier for you to just suck in and start playing around with the demos that you can see in your kit. So let's return to the presentation. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to leave, I'm going to run, well, so while we're writing our stories, I'm going to leave a sort of looping PowerPoint presentation with a bunch of interesting features that you might want to quickly glance up and see. And I'll, of course, be around on the chat, and you can spam me with any questions you'd like, and I'll be here to pick up on them and show you anything that you'd like to know. So here's a quick overview of Inky again. Write on the left, play on the right, restart story up there. There's a how-to guide in the help, which is very useful. There's also a few extra things. In the menu bar, there's an ink item that has a whole bunch of pre-made code snippets. Say you want to make a choice or write a variable or a condition, you can just go up there rather than trying to work out the syntax yourself. You can also export your story as a web page if you'd like. Feel free to do that. And that's it. So I really am just going to let you go on and make your own stories now. Let me just put up my other PowerPoint, which I'm just going to let run. I really don't mind what you write about at all. Please write about whatever takes your fancy, or feel free to just get stuck in and explore the features. It's totally up to you. Okay. So I'm going to be presenting this PowerPoint, which hopefully will loop through on this laptop, and I'll be watching the chat on my other computer. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself here so that you don't hear me typing. Oops. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. I hope you can hear me. No, I know you can because I was just getting some reverb. So we've got 10 minutes left in the session, which I think should leave us enough time for some show and tell. If anybody has anything they would like to show and tell. If they do, please write in the chat, say, hey, I'd like to share something. If not, I've been writing a tiny little story that I'll paste in, and you can paste it into your own copy of Inky. There's some looping in the mic. Oh, sorry. Still, I just turned off my other computer's microphone. That might have helped. Let me know if it's still a problem. Oh, sorry. Hang on. I'll just. Charles, I'd love to see it. Can I give you control of? Oh, you should be able to click a button that gives you streaming power. So please go.
Hello. For anyone who wants to participate, there's a little button at the top that says share audio and video. If you press that, you'll then be able to participate in a session like I've just done, and then you can screen share and show. I'll leave again.
Well, while we're waiting for Charles, I'll just paste in a little code that you can put in your own Inky, and you can see a little bit that I can.
Hopefully people can hear me.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Right. Where do we share screens with?
Yes, I had the same problem. If you see next to the microphone icon at the bottom, there should be a thing.
Okay. Settings. I don't have a thing for doing that. That's not great. I've got a mic and a camera and a settings thing, but I don't have anything for sharing.
Okay. Well, if you...
Is there a little camera icon that has a red line going through it?
Yeah. There we go. Found it.
Perfect.
Right. Let's try that. Okay. Can people see a thing?
Yep. Wonderful. Wow.
So, yes. I don't know. Do you just want me to walk through it?
That would be amazing. Yeah, I'd love to see.
Right, okay, so you're standing outside a door. So there's a door, which it's old and gnarled and banded and rusted iron. It appears to be unlocked. What's behind me? It's a long corridor, long and dark. So you could walk down the corridor, which brings you to a door again. It's looped around. You can keep going backwards and forwards as much as you want. If you go to the door, you can then open it. And inside it is a 10 by 10 foot room with a fierce green creature who appears armed to be with misshapen blade. Between his boot is a wonderful steaming fruit pie. So then we've got what's behind me, the creature, a pie, run, or attack. So let's have a look at the pie. The pie is clearly lovely and full of blueberries, and it's removed that option. We can look at the creature, which shows us what the creature is. It appears to be unamused. We've got three options. What's behind me, run, or attack? Two of these will kill you.
Attack!
Attack, okay. If you attack, end of story, you kill the orc because it's surprised to see you. I didn't have a chance to add any logic to do with... I was planning to set a variable which will allow you to basically, if you look at the orc and spend too much time looking at it and then go and try and attack it, it'd be ready and it'd kill you. If you just attack straight away and go for the pie, then you'd win. But at this point, if you either turn around or run away, it'll kill you. But at this point, it will... the only way to win is to attack it immediately. And that's about it.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. You've done so much more than I have, or I thought anyone would be able to do in the time. That was really wonderful. Thank you so much.
Awkward
Cool.
Pie is a classic D&D scenario adventure. So yeah, I just wrote one on you. Okay.
Else have anything that they'd like to share? We've still got 4 minutes left, so we've got time for somebody else to go. Guilia, is that right? Sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing your name. I'm sorry. I'd love to see what you've got to share.
Hello, can you see me and hear me? Can you see my screen? Okay, nice. Yeah, first try. So I've written, on a long walk in the woods, I wandered deep in thought. The sky grew darker around me, and I realized I was utterly lost. Staring around in confusion, I was startled by a voice behind me. Lost your way? The speaker was an old woman, half hidden in the shadow of a pine tree. So you can choose between, please help me, I'm a stranger to these parts, I bleated fearfully. How long have you been hiding under that tree? That's a bit creepy, isn't it? I said with a sardonic eyebrow raise. Or, be gone, old crone, I shouted. How I hated the elderly. So you can pick between those three. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how to make it. If you pick this one, the current climax is that the narrator will be attacked by angry pensioners at some point later in the story. Yep. So that's what I did.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
It was really fun.
If you like, I can show you how you could customize the ending based on which choice you pick afterwards, or I can give you a quick hint. Just after you write the asterisk, which declares it to be a choice, you can use regular curvy brackets and put a name or like any text you want in there, and that will give the choice a name. And then later on in the story, you can check to see if that name has, or how many times that piece of the story has been seen by the player. So every time they click on it, that number goes up by 1. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, it's quite hard to describe. Okay, do we have time for one more really quick one, or should we call it there? Does anybody else want to go? Don't have much time, so bonus points if it's really short.
I think that's it.
All right. Yeah, no problem at all. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody. I hope this was useful, and I hope you continue to use ink for all of your random story needs.